public housing in KL. Correct me if I'm wrong. And also the fate of village flats, which have now also gone. So Razak mentions, in a way, is the only one remaining out of these three very important, very iconic housing project. So this is in near the Sungai, the KL Seremban Highway, and you have, let's say, you have the Sungai Besi airfield here, the future Bandar Malaysia, and this is where Razak mentioned this. And what is most interest to us were actually these courtyard blocks, very, very peculiar buildings that, literally, where architecture literally forms a frame around a collective space, and which leads to this kind of, we feel, a very, very beautiful condition of shared space in the frame by architecture. So the architecture becomes almost a background to the kind of very, very interesting thing that happens, and you get different kind of facade treatment or elevations looking into this space. Some very enclosed, some quite open, and this is, I thought, a very beautiful contrast between a very homogeneous treatment of a surface and where, let's say, the idiosyncrasies of each unit is allowed to be expressed. And let's say the idea that even from this very, very enclosed surface, you get to see into the courtyard, but more importantly, you see this, which is, let's say, the symbols of progress slowly encroaching upon this space. And what was interesting for us, it was very clear that it was not, and we were not, trying to play activists. We were not interested at all in trying to preserve this thing. What we were interested in is to really document this space as a form of collective space in the city, which is becoming more and more a scarcity as, let's say, completely developer-driven development is taking over. So you have this kind of spaces that will pretty soon be replaced by this. So I guess this idea of this whole discussion pretty much grew out of the shock that we felt when we visited. So this is the project that is going to be built on site. So 600 units around in between trees, framing a garden, is to be replaced by 6,000 units in 50-story buildings with hardly any collective space in between. So this is what we are getting. So if you look at this is the block into which the current residents would move. So there's no issue of the residents being displaced. They're getting, let's say, bigger units, they're getting better facilities. But this, to us, is extremely shocking. Let's say the same infrastructure that is quite clogged up now is going to be dealing with this. So it was really like a punch in the face when you talk about architecture, when you have forums about livable cities, sustainable environment, blah blah blah, and these kind of things are simply being, let's say, approved, and in fact it's a development which is involving the BKL themselves. So it's extremely troubling. And you might say that, let's say, that is the logical conclusion of proposals like Hilberzheimer's architecture of the metropolis, or Neutra's Rush City. But I would argue that, let's say, what this kind of proposal had was a certain ideology, that this kind of project was perhaps never meant as something to be actually built, but was more a kind of a provocation, a kind of an extreme projection of the outcome of rapid modernization on European and American cities at that time. In particular, let's say Neutra's Rush City is a very traffic-based, pushing the logic of the car-driven logic of Los Angeles to a conclusion. So these kind of projects usually, I would say, have the value of, let's say, pushing or making us think about a certain condition without actually meaning to get these things built. I might be wrong, but that is kind of my argument. Whereas if you look at the kind of thing that is being proposed in Razak City, I would say there is an architecture completely devoid of quality, completely devoid of ideology, but something which is in fact has a closer relationship to this, which is architecture, as an outcome of purely the need of density, of numbers, of Excel sheets, of tables, of plot ratio and things like that. And which is a sad thing, because these things, plot ratio, density, development control is something that the authorities control. But of course, the business logic of developers loves this kind of thing. But I think what is sad for us is not so much that the developers are greedy, because I mean that is their nature, but the fact that, let's say, the authorities are somehow involved with promoting this kind of things. So the argument of, let's say, or the question that we would like to put forward for today's discussion is the idea that, you know, in looking at all these examples, are we heading towards a situation where the architecture of tomorrow, especially in the context of housing, is simply architecture totally devoid of ideology, even quality, but is something of only of density, and that is, let's say, the topic that we wish to discuss, or to invite everyone to discuss today.